Please rise and salute the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the superintendent please call?
Do you want to have a moment of silence for James McSweeney?
Came from the wrong side, that's I forgot.
James McSweeney.
Yep.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience and those at home, please take a moment of silence and remembrance for Mr. Jim McSweeney, staff member of many years, Woburn Public Schools. May he rest in peace. Thank you. Thanks for that reminder.
Thank you, Colleen, for the reminder.
My son's game. It's fine.
Will the superintendent please call the roll for the regular school committee meeting of September 28th?
Ms. Chisholm.
Here.
Ms. Cormier.
Present.
Ms. Crowley.
Present.
Mr. Kissel.
Here.
Mr. Lipset.
Here.
Mr. Mulrennan.
Present.
Dr. Wells.
Here. All right, first up, we have approval of the August 10th meeting
Motion
minutes.
approved. Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Public comment. Please come up and just, if you give your name.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Marie Delfrati,
Yep.
2 kids in the school system.
Yep.
I just have a question. I'd like to know why there's no snack shack or bathrooms at the high school.
Okay.
I've noticed for a long time, being a sports mom, traveling to other cities, we go to the other high schools, they have all these beautiful snack shacks. And Woburn, when you come to Woburn, they just have tables set up. There's no bathrooms, porta potties, kids have older family members, grandparents that are coming, they need to use a restroom, they're using a porta potty. It's kind of gross, but it's like, why doesn't Woburn have a snack shack? We have a beautiful football field. It's gorgeous, but we have tables outside and porta potties.
Yep.
So I don't know why it was never built. I don't care, but at this point, I'd like to get something done, some type of structure where, on Friday night for the varsity games, it's not embarrassing that we don't have any type of amenity, to serve some food, whatever it is, whether it's pizza, whatever. Anyway, if that's something that we can maybe get on the agenda to have it done for the high school. As I've been going around to other high schools, I've been taking pictures of the snack shacks.
Okay.
And they don't have to be anything elaborate, but, I would like something that's a little more welcoming to the community, nicer bathrooms, some type of stand. We can serve food. I don't know what the restrictions would be with, the setup, the other snack shacks. I love food, I love to eat, let's bring people here, let's get some good food. I think it would make the high school more beneficial. I know they do the Gronk, whatever, football thing in the summer. I feel like it would help make the high school more appealing for that, help bring some revenue in. Maybe the shack can have like a little retail area. We can sell Woburn school shirts, whatever. But I think it's something that needs to get done. It's embarrassing that Woburn doesn't have a snack shack of some sort. You got people coming in, and here's the parents. You're like, here, use a porta potty. Nah, we don't really have a lot of food. It doesn't look good. I feel like let's get it done. We have a beautiful high school. We have a beautiful field. Maybe I have other notes, but I know it's just to at least get it on the agenda. Let's think about how we can get it done. That's the city slogan, right? Getting it done. I think that's something that maybe we can put on the agenda, get it taken care of. I'd love to be involved. I actually thought of a name for it called the Tana Chew. You're going to come, chew your food, get a little food. Anyway, but I think it's something that I'd love to see done in the city, and it would make the high school so much more beneficial.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for your comment. The way this sort of works is we listen to you, we don't really respond. If you leave your name with Jean and your
Yeah, okay.
contact information,
Okay.
we'll refer it to one of our subcommittees. We'll talk to Mr. Duran while you're if you want. He's the athletic director.
Oh, best friend.
And the high school principal's also over there, so you can...
Yeah, I'd love to be involved with it, somehow, you know, it's
Okay.
been lacking for a long time, but I
Okay.
think it would be so
And Mr. Duran
beneficial.
will explain the problem, why we have porta potties. It's a long-standing issue. But anyways,
Okay.
thank
All
you.
right. Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, so just give your contact information to Jean over there.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have,
So the student rep is not here because Mr. Martin is, and so he's going to double up as
okay,
in both capacities.
all right. So now we'll move on to, and I want to, about a week, just recognize the Ward 7 Alderman and thank him for being here. And
Why are we here?
Matt, you can
Sure.
go with your
Yeah,
part.
so at this time,
Just have admin.
welcome interim principal Steve Martin to provide an update to the committee. He has been working diligently since July 1st, but obviously he's a familiar face to everybody in the room, and not necessarily in this role. So the opportunity to provide an update on goings-on at the high school and a vision for where he's trying to take the school this year.
All right, well, again, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a while since I saw you guys, but the last time I was here was my introduction, and there's a lot of good things that have been going on since. And I plan to keep that going over the next 8 months, if not longer than that. So to start, just a quick update on events from last week. So we had underclass photos were taken last week, retakes, October 27th from 8 to 10, for those students who were not in the building last week. But I thought back to school night was a success. That was last week as well. There was a strong turnout. There were 2 days of freshman mentor training last week, Thursday and Friday. Students did a great job with that. And there's a Best Buddies event, actually, there's a Best Buddies event tomorrow from 5:30 to 6:30 in the courtyard at the high school. Next week, Tuesday, we have class speeches. Wednesday, we have the primaries. Friday, October 7th, we have final elections and the activities fair. My second faculty meeting will be on 10/6 on Thursday from 2 to 2:45. And then, like I said, the activities fair will be on 10/7. Right now, something I'm extremely proud of, there's a few things, but all classrooms are filled with the exception of one teacher, and right now Ms. Gustenhoven and myself are in the process of filling that class. And we are still looking for one para position, but other than that, all para positions are filled. So based on the climate in the country and teachers' classrooms not being able to be filled across the country, the fact that right now we just have one classroom that we are in the process of filling is, in my opinion, a blessing. I'm extremely fortunate to the staff and to the people of Woburn. I think it shows their commitment to coming in and working with me and also looking to rebuild together. So right now, those are the updates that I have. A few other things that are new this year, advisory. So what I brought in is we're piloting this year at Restorative Justice /Circle through in advisory every Friday. And the reason why I thought that was important, a couple of reasons. One is because I feel that communication is key to rebuilding relationships. It is proven that a strong model can limit referrals and limit suspensions. And so I feel that if we can get ahead of some of these incidents that happen at the high school, potentially that will also lower our numbers. We will no longer potentially have to send kids out or provide a consequence. We don't have to because we are getting ahead of the situation prior to when it happens. So we are right now piloting that, and advisory is going very well. Some of the topics that we are discussing are pride, black and orange, tradition, what culture means, the definition of culture, how different cultures in some ways exhibit pride differently, or community, family, religion. So right now, those are going well. We have that every week on Fridays for about 20, 25 minutes, and it provides students an opportunity to kind of open up. If they choose to participate, they do. If they do not choose to, they don't have to. It's a safe space. They start off with kind of a talking piece, and whoever has that piece, that's the only person that can talk at the time. So right off the bat, that kind of talk or learn, respect, appreciate other people's values, appreciate other people's voices and what they have to say. And the talking piece goes around the class, and if people choose to discuss the topic, what pride means to them, what culture means to them, what black and orange means to them, they can. If they choose not to, they don't have to. But it's an opportunity to get student voice. And I think it's going well, and I'm looking forward to the potential that has, that we can do with that after this year. So those are my initiatives, what's going on right now. Everything's going well. I go in there every day, and I leave every day, smile on my face, and then my teachers are working extremely hard. They are very committed. I set certain expectations at the beginning of the year for the students and for the staff, and they've exceeded all of them. So I'm extremely proud of what they are providing me. I'm extremely proud of the way our students have stepped up, and just proud to be in that position. So I want to thank you guys again for the opportunity that I plan on continuing to take advantage of.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin. You
Thank you.
here for a few questions?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Ms. Crowley?
First of all, the restorative justice is really amazing, and thank you for the updates. I liked the sort of business updates, but then, the grand things that you're doing at the high school. Fantastic. What's the level of participation in the restorative justice thus far?
Yeah, so the first week, the students were typically in advisory, it was used as a means to kind of push out information, dates, dance contracts, expectations. So this is the first time they've actually sat in an advisory in which they were actually asked to participate.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first go-around was a little, from the teacher's perspective, a little awkward for students.
Right.
But-
Heck no. No, we're not doing this type thing.
Or like who's going to go first? Who's going to get to? Who's going to start the conversation? Last week it went very well because students kind of now they know the expectation, and I think they're more comfortable with what the questions because the second time around. So overall, I feel it went very well. Mrs. Gillis has done a great job helping me, and so was Ms. Patrici. Done a great job helping me put together questions and models and themes that we feel are useful right now and beneficial to our particular student body.
Right.
So it's going very well.
And the staff have an opportunity to see vulnerable students, who might be having troubles.
Correct.
And that student has one person that they can feel comfortable with.
That's exactly right.
Great. I am just really thrilled to hear about it, and I support it.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Chisholm?
The new positions that we had for after school and before
Yes.
school, have those been filled?
Yep. Yep. So there were. I'm still in the process of somewhat recruiting for those positions.
Okay.
The situation that we're in right now is a lot of our staff coach. And so as opposed to, so right now, just to answer your question, I filled the building
Okay.
position. There's a staff member, she actually just went out on COVID, but she started on Monday. So I have one position filled. I am still looking for a male, but I have filled one position with a female staff member. And then for the athletics, Mr. Duran and I have a interview tomorrow for athletics. So we're still in the process of filling those, but right now we may have to go seasonal because a lot of our potential people who would coach are doing who would take on that role are right now coaching sports.
Okay.
But in the fall, they will pick up the winter season and the spring.
Okay.
So yes, the plan is to have those filled within the next week,
Awesome.
depending on the applicants, yes.
Yeah, it sounds like, I think that would be nice to make sure that, and that the city would know that we're being
Correct.
proactive too, so that would be.
I agree.
And how's the Tana Closet going? Do you need donations? Is there a great time to?
No, they had a donation, there was a fundraiser a couple weeks ago, I believe, at the church in Woburn, and they received a significant amount of donations.
Okay.
So right now, I believe we are in a good place with the Tana Closet.
Okay.
I can reach out to Ms. Patrice, but right now, that closet is packed. But we do have families that are still in need, that that access to Tana Closet weekly. So when that gets low, or when there is a need, I will definitely let you guys know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we can do a shout out and hopefully.
Absolutely.
All set?
Yep.
Mr. Lipsick?
Restorative justice is a concept that's been brought up at a couple of meetings, one last year and now today. I just want to make sure that the public has a sense of what that means. Could you give us sort of the basics of what restorative justice entails?
Sure.
It's a long process, but I think a really exciting one, and I'm
Sure.
so happy to hear that we're doing it.
Sure, I appreciate it. Oh, you like me to explain, get into more
Yeah, if you
detail
could,
on what it
that'd
is?
be
Yeah, I believe it's an opportunity to repair, right? So it's really about relationships, repairing relationships, and then in the end, hopefully, we're in a situation where if there are any conflicts, they don't occur again, because we've made the right steps and gone through the process prior to another escalation. So it could also be used for community as well. It doesn't just have to be within the building with students, right? You can also use restorative discipline or restorative justice as a community building model. So that's one thing after this year's pilot. My plan is potentially to then use it within the community to, again, help people bring together and have conversations that are important during this time.
And so my understanding is it involves sort of attempting to build bridges
Yep.
between, so in terms of, if you have a victim-perpetrator situation,
Yep.
you're trying to sort of build those bridges in a safe way,
Yes.
in a way that supports everyone involved and their needs,
Yep.
but that has the chance to develop a more meaningful relationship.
Correct, correct.
That's great.
Yep,
Thank you.
thank you. No, thank you.
Columbia?
Yeah, just a quick question off of that.
Mm-hmm.
How does that differ from mediation that we used to do? Like, is it?
No,
is there another step?
yeah, no, it's a great question. So we do use peer mediation, but typically in the past, we've done used peer mediations after an incident as part of like a reentry. This restorative piece, when it works, will happen before the incident. So if we see things potentially kind of escalating, social media comments involving race, of potential altercations that we see brewing, we would have a circle prior to that, so it never gets to that place. So in the past, we've used mediations after an incident. This we can potentially use effectively prior.
Excellent,
Yep.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any comment? Well, maybe the superintendent wants to say a few words,
Sure. Mr. Martin, the school year started well everywhere. I was lucky enough this morning to be up at the high school. We had morning brew together, which is the cart that comes around.
Yep.
Had a nice meeting, walked around, saw the students are engaged in classes, actively learning. There's a great atmosphere at the high school and in the district. And so you alluded to the hiring. It's been a busy summer and fall. Ms. Boyajian will speak about the process, but it's really a tribute to all the leadership to kind of be communicating with each other about needs and being creative. And you've done a great job to start. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to thank you, Mr. Martin, for being here. I also want to just have you comment a little bit. I know the committee has supported the administration in getting coaches for administrators, so that you can have somebody to bounce things. And I know you worked with a coach this summer, and maybe just describe how that went and how you thought what value you saw in that.
No, he's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
We have a lot in common.
Yeah.
He bleeds black and orange, similar to myself. And he's just been a great mentor to bounce ideas off of, to brainstorm with. Sometimes, when I have questions, when questions arise, and I'm looking for someone who has a little more experience, even if I think that I'm going with my gut, and typically my gut is taking me in the right direction, he'll be the one to say, Steve, maybe this direction is the more appropriate way to go. So that football aspect, sometimes tone it back a little bit, and he has taught me that. So no, he's been extremely valuable. He's become a good friend, has kind of taken on that kind of Rocky Nelson person that was so important in my life, and he has definitely kind of filled that void. So he's unbelievable, and I enjoy working with him. I'm looking forward to continue to work that relationship.
Yep.
He's been good.
Who is it?
Bob Desleniers. I call him Bob D.
Yeah.
Bob D.
I think this has been one of the things over the years that I've seen that we've instituted that have really been supporting our administration. Sometimes I think, we used to think that you just threw them in the job and they knew how to do it. And I think, with Dr. Crowley's support and, this has really taken off.
Yeah, well, you just heard, and I think it's paid dividends to have a thought partner as you enter into a new role.
Yeah.
And, someone that's actually only designed to support you and doesn't work directly for the district, but has experience. And, I've met him. He's terrific. He's a retired principal. He's athletic director, teacher, coach, and he works as a consultant for a lot of different districts.
He's done it all.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you some point during the year.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
best of
Wallace.
luck with everything going
All right,
forward.
you'll be seeing me around.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Mr. Durant.
So the Next agenda is Athletic Director, Mr. Duran. Is he?
Yeah, he's back.
Okay.
He's back. He solved
Good timing.
the food shack issue. and-
Yeah.
Good timing.
Have that the morning chew.
Solved that problem.
But anyway, just to provide an update, more so on facilities
Okay.
tonight.
So we, over the summer, or maybe at the end of school year last year, I came in and we did approve the lights, but kind of more and more that we thought about it, and the field needs to be done. The back practice field needs to be turfed. So Mayor Galvin, we talked, and this should probably be the best year for that to happen. So what we did was, the lights are a want. The fields are a need, right? Because that needs to be done, safety, things like that. So we're going to move forward, I believe, that with the turf, putting the turf down, and then we have some other renovations we'd like to do, from netting, just maybe some field preps that we could do to move forward and make it a better atmosphere for our student athletes.
So it's a change in plans from what we originally discussed with the lights, and so I take it you've talked through Mr. Kissel's subcommittee?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we get to that, it's not on the agenda as a line item, so we're going to do it through resources about a rescinding a vote, so. we'll talk
Why
about
don't we do it now? While
Oh, okay.
Mr. Durant's here, that way, in case the committee has any questions,
Sure.
he doesn't have to hang around.
that. All right.
So I'll make a motion to rescind our previous vote.
Do we have it?
regarding-
I left it open in my notes about the date. Did
I
we?
believe it was May 12th.
May 12th, okay. I left it open, I didn't have that.
So maybe if Mr. Kissel, before we take a motion, if Mr. Kissel could just sort of summarize the subcommittee discussion about the issue,
Sure.
so everybody's on the same page?
Yeah, so the discussion, where is it here? I got to figure it out here. Yeah, so again, back on, if it was May 12th, we had voted as a committee to approve upwards of 200,000 or up to 200,000, but I think there was a couple of other light
Yeah.
surveys and different things, so it was going to bring the price up anyways. But perfect timing, because they had a article in the, I think it was in the Globe over the Sunday, talking about unsafe fields, that, the different levels are, batting down. So anyway, the vote was to put up the lights, but we were talking about that being around 200,000. But at the resource subcommittee, we talked about taking those funds and putting it towards the upgrade of the the replacement of the practice field. We're just leaving the lights, the temporary lights that are there now, which are being paid for. They're not costing us anything.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Kissel? Is that 200,000 going to be sufficient, or is that where the mayor comes in?
The mayor comes in at that time, and then
Okay. He's gonna
that
supplement.
200 would help us get to
Okay.
that point.
And I think you've worked with the mayor, Mr. Alcanada, about this
Yes,
issue, and
Yep, I've worked with the mayor, I've worked with Mr. Duran
Yeah.
and Mr. Dunkley on this issue.
okay. And when's the start date for this project? Do we have a start?
That I didn't have.
We would like to try to, if we could, when we go out to bid, and we would like to try to start at the end of May,
Okay.
when our season's over.
Okay.
Not wait until school's over, because they can always use the stadium field for gym class and different things.
Okay. Ms. Crowley.
Dr. Wells, could we just specify which field? Because I think in the conversation, it's not clear to people listening.
So it's in the back, we have a turf field.
At the high school?
At the high school.
Okay.
We call that a practice field.
Yep.
We call it the practice field. There are some games on it, but most is practice, football practice is there, soccer, and then both lacrosse teams, because track is practicing during the spring. So it's really bigger than a regulation size field, so it's a field in almost a half, and so it's a bigger area than the track.
Any other questions? Okay, Ms. Cormier, ready for your motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we rescind our May 12th, 2022 vote to use the field account funds to purchase practice field lights.
Okay, do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. And then maybe Mr. Kissel, if you want to make, or Ms. Cormier can make a motion that we allocate that money to the...
I'll make a motion that we use the field account funds to replace the turf on the practice field behind the high school.
Up
Okay.
to $200,000.
Up to $200,000.
Okay.
Supplemented by the
Do we have a
second.
second on that? Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay, so we've changed direction on that, that's good. I just, maybe give a little update. I saw that we're having a joint swim team this year with, is it Burlington?
With Burlington.
Yeah. So maybe just
Burlington was kind of a,
last minute.
yeah, last minute thing. They only had 6 swimmers.
Yeah.
After the first practice, the kids must have went home and told their friends, because now we have like 26 Burlington kids and 16 Woburn kids. So it would probably be just for the year.
Okay.
They had canceled all their pool time and all
Oh.
that, so it was, it's worked out great.
Okay.
I mean, Courtney Eisenberg has done a terrific job.
So we're really, I wasn't clear, we're the lead on this?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, we're the host school.
yeah, okay. Ms. Cormier,
Where do practices take place?
They're still at the Boys Club.
Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, Boys and Girls Club, sorry about that.
So they're now practicing together at? in
And
Woburn?
they practice together. They're a little bit later because Burlington gets out of school a little bit later, so they have been practicing a little bit later. And, we're funding, Burlington's also funding all their part of it, so it's worked out really well.
Steve, okay. Any other questions for Mr. Duran before we go? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Good night.
Have a good one.
Okay. Superintendent? you have another?
Sure. So, the Director of Human Resource, Merced, is here tonight as well. And she's been, as you can see, and she'll talk through it, quite busy. We've been hiring extensively since last spring and continue to do so in a myriad of different ways. And so it's been an unusual climate. We've had people coming and onboarding at all time, every day seemingly. So without further ado, Ms. Pruitt.
Yes, this is it. What have I been doing? This is it. This is it. Like I said, it's and Dr. Crowley alluded to, and Steve Martin alluded to. It's been a fluid process since I would say early last spring. It's been ongoing, and I can't speak enough to the creativity and the out-of-the-box thinking of the building principals who really have, because they know their staff so well, they've been able to make moves and fill spaces so we can backfill and hire for positions where it might not be so easy to otherwise. But like I said, it's been an amazing team effort, and it's still ongoing. But like Steve said, he's so close to being filled, and at this point, we're picking away. Every day is a new day. I was speaking with Wayne Clark. He has a couple more paras who he's going to push through tomorrow to hire. So we're moving, and these kids they're getting as much as they can right now. Again, you talk about the teacher shortage and the shortage of staff in schools. Woburn's doing an amazing job to fill those gaps, and we're doing it, and it's moving into October, and I think we're on a good pace to be able to do that. Like I said, we're not the only ones who are saying that we need teachers, but I feel like, just from my vantage point, we're in a great position. It's constantly moving. Like I said, the communication between the principals and their staff, and knowing them so well, and having out-of-the-box, like I said, the out-of-the-box thinking has been instrumental in making sure that these positions are being filled, and finding creative ways to fill them. So, we've been speaking to the onboarding and offboarding. It's been, like I said, it's a lot. It's been a lot. So whether we're taking staff that we currently have and moving them from one role to another, like I said, just knowing and just building the capacity of what we already have, in addition to bringing in so many outside staff, which I'm proud to say that the recruiting that's been done since early last spring has brought in a lot of outside talents and experiences and backgrounds that I feel strongly that are going to really benefit our kids. So, I mean, it was amazing to see the slew, the amazing amount of new teachers at the orientation. It was great. It was great to see. So I think we've expanded our talent immensely just over the course of the past 3 months or so. Our paraprofessionals, I mean, they're just the ones that we brought from, like I said, from outside sources. Without a doubt, there are several right here on this list who have potential to be great teachers at some point down the line. So I can't speak much to this. Like I said, the collective work of all the administration, the hiring managers, and just the staff that we brought in. So it's exciting. But we're making some moves.
Mr. Kissel.
Maybe, I don't know if you had mentioned the TBDs on the last page and into the bottom of the third page.
Yep. Paraprofessionals, yep, they're ongoing. Yeah, we need the support, the support staff, because we need so many of them. They're still coming in. They're coming in. They're coming in maybe 2, 3 at a time. I'm, out looking for them. And again, the constant communication with the principals as they come in. I'm shooting them out there. I'm screening them myself. Scheduling interviews maybe 2, 3 a week. As they come in, I'm going to say, I'm going to put you. You might be a good fit for the Shamrock because the Shamrock needs obviously the most. You might be a good fit there, but I also know that there's a preschool need over at the Reeve, so that might be someone. So we're filtering them off, or just taking names and resumes and shooting them off to them. So it's, like I said, it's very fluid. They're coming in, but because of the great need, it's we're picking away at them. And I think that the principals are doing a great job. They're not just saying, okay, I really need this help, so we'll just take it. They're doing their due diligence and making sure that the person that they select as support in their classroom, like I said, that has teacher qualities in the future, and they have the experience and the willingness and the readiness and desire to get in there and help those kids.
What, maybe more of an administration question, what's the level of education needed for, let's say, just a standard para as opposed to SPED? And then how close would they be to being a teacher? Would they be able to do?
Yep, so actually a lot of them that we have, like I said, they're right out of college. Some of them are right out of college. You're looking to get their experience right in there. Yep, they're really, those are the ones that I love the most because that's for me, that's where I came from. So I needed to get my foot in the door someplace, and there's no greater way to start than to just kind of be that person who has your hands in there and you're watching and learning from the classroom teacher in there and having that that experience. So whether or not your goal is to be a special education teacher, they're all ours. They're all ours eventually. So you need to make sure that you're getting that experience from the ground up, being able to learn and utilize strategies that are not going to just serve that child IEP, but serve a child who doesn't have an IEP or have any kind of a learning disability who just needs a different way to be able to learn and to have that explained to them. So, like I said, those are the ones that I'm speaking of who, again, have great potential to move into exactly what they're looking to be.
And are we starting, is everyone starting at, I guess, is it considered steps at a paras as well? So is everyone starting at that same level or a different experience, maybe they've got to bump up or?
It depends. Like I said, the majority of the ones on this list right now are starting just getting in the business. They just want to get in. Some of them, step one. And there are some who have other district experience as a paraprofessional who maybe want some place different for whatever reason. They want to move out. Maybe started at maybe a step or two above with some minimal experience that could meet the qualifications to what we're looking for as far as the great support in the classroom. But predominantly, they're starting at the first step.
So just to clarify, Mr. Kissel, what is the what's the minimum requirements to be a para? Because I know we're trying to fill them and people might hear it on TV. So if you could just tell us what the minimum requirements are.
I'm going to go over there. It's bachelor's. Is it bachelor's?
You have a high school diploma.
Yeah.
For paraprofessional, high school diploma.
Okay. Just, I want to get it out there because we're still looking. And so somebody might be watching us on TV.
Yep.
Okay. Any other?
I'm good. That was it.
Okay. Mr. Chisholm.
Do you find that with the interviews that we're competitive, Woburns competitive with other surrounding towns to hire teachers, staff, paras?
If you would ask me that question a month and a half ago, I'd be like, no. Unfortunately, I feel like they're looking for more competitive a higher salary, higher rates, depending on where their entry points are coming into the position. But you know what, I've looked into other districts, and I've spoken with people, with candidates who are like, okay, you know, that's about where I'm looking at right now, especially where they're coming in and at the growth level, the learning level. And I've, you know, you could tell me that I'm off, but I think over the past, you know, in interviewing several candidates for this position, I found that they do find it to be competitive, and I feel like they're drawn to Woburn. Many of them, most of them have done their research in looking into the Woburn Public Schools District, and I feel like the salary meets what they want and the environment that they're looking for.
And for the teachers that actually do leave us, for various reasons, people can go for anything. Do you do an exit interview with them by any chance, or do we do that at all, just to kind of?
They're offered it if they want, but like I said, the resignations, it's been pretty clear, like there's been communication prior to them leaving or things like that, so it's, the conversation's already been there, and I think that's, like I said, if they're offered, if you would like one, you know, please reach out, and we'll set up a meeting with the superintendent, but otherwise, the communication that's happened before that point has already been pretty much.
Because we don't, I don't think, have a high turnover anyway, but it was just that people always say, well, do they do exit interviews? I mean, just, you know, if someone's leaving to go to become a principal somewhere else, or if they're leaving to go because they're moving to Oregon, or something, that's one thing. But if we're going to lose somebody just because.
Exactly. You know. So I think those are the ones that were like, and we've made outreach to those people. They're saying, is there anything more that we could have done? Is there anything that was, you know, that we weren't aware of that you can, you know, we can come to.
Yeah, just to better ourselves.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. Thank you.
So apart from paras, which is obviously an ongoing project, were there any particular areas of hiring that were more problematic or more difficult to fill than others, age levels, disciplines?
The leaves, the long-term leaves, I think are the most complicated to be able to, because you want to be able to make sure that these babies are given sufficient and more than adequate instruction while the regular classroom teacher is out for whatever reason. I think filling those gaps in has been the most problematic. But like I said, that's when we're going to kick back to where the principals have known their building so well, the staff, their talents, their licensure, and all of that so well, where, you know, in the relationship with them, would you mind filling in this gap for this amount of time while this teacher is out? So I think that's been the most complex and complicated part of this right now. But aside from that, it's just, I feel like the elementary, I feel like they're solid. I don't think it's been a hard sell. I know, and like I said, Steve's done an amazing job being proactive and making sure that these areas are covered. And when this leave is over, we can go back and we can move these people around. But it's the quality of talent and building that the principals have come to know well, to be able to make those shifts while we look to fill those other spots. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely does. Thank you. I know this is a very, very difficult year to ask this question, but you know, we've been talking as long as I've been on this committee about trying to diversify the backgrounds of our hires, our staff. Has there been? I mean, how has there been progress in that regard over the last, in this hiring season?
I mean, I could say confidently yes. I mean, just looking at this staff alone, where coming from. I mean, just the amount of the areas, the experiences, the districts, the entry points that the new staff are coming from. So whether we're talking about culturally diverse talents, diverse experiences and backgrounds, and just their own, what they've done and experiences working with children, I feel like absolutely that I could name probably 10 to 11 just on this list alone that would qualify as people who are bringing their diverse experiences working, whether it's working in urban school districts, things like that are coming in with that experience already coming in. And I think last we spoke, I was excited to jump into the MPDE recruitment fair, the virtual recruitment fair, which, I mean, I have to say, it was amazing. It was fun. It was extremely well attended. You know, it was 9 to 12 on a Saturday, but you know, obviously the window was open all day. It was literally like a virtual a conference area where you'd have people coming and going. And set up a Woburn booth. And I don't know where the candidates came from, but we set up, like I said, we set up a link. The candidates knew where they were coming from all over Massachusetts. They could drop their resume in there, no questions asked. I put up all the most prominent postings that we did have. And it was very well attended. I was able to speak virtually, just, come in, are you available? Yep, and I had the interviews just face-to-face there. I spoke maybe to about 6 actual people. Others, they had questions in the chat over off to the side about, are you looking, I know you don't have this posting, but do you feel like at some point you'd be looking for, this experience when I graduate? And it was just great conversation, just great networking. So that I feel like we didn't, the one thing I will say, maybe if they do it a little bit, I'd say later, it might be more beneficial because, as the postings come out, I took their resumes and I gave them off to the specific schools that might, either the licensure matched, but it was an amazing experience. So I'm looking forward to having a little bit more, a greater attendance and maybe more applicable candidates come from that this year. But yeah, I think that, like I said, that the pool that came in, just the number of candidates and applications coming in from all around, I think was very impressive. That necessarily solidifies what we're doing, but like I said, we're bringing in definitely people with more diverse experiences and backgrounds.
And to be able to do that in this current atmosphere,
That's
hiring
like I
is
said, I
great.
can't speak because I don't know if you watch the news enough, and like I said, I feel like we're in a good place.
Thank you.
Mr. Crowley.
Looking at this list, this is a considerable amount of work, and so I just wanted to thank you, because this is stunning, how
Thank
many
you.
people.
It is, yeah.
And I also just want to note that we, advocated for the creation of the position of Human Resources Director, and it's clearly paying off in dividends. So
I can't speak.
fantastic.
It's as much as I've learned this whole thing, like I feel like Woburn's in a good place. I just know much I don't know at this point. I've learned it all on hand, so it's been great for me. And not for nothing, I'm getting to know the people a lot better. The people of Woburn, the educators of Woburn, and the staff of Woburn. And I'm like all right there. Like I can see people right now. Like I said, that sea of new teachers at the new teacher orientation. I'm like, I met all of you.
Yeah.
All of you. I sat with you.
Awesome.
We filled out paperwork together. We did.
I did have a question, though. So if a para starts mid-year, and maybe this is for Superintendent Ryan, if a para starts sort of like after school starts, how do we onboard the para to, introduce them to the district? Is that for you?
Yeah, I can answer
Okay.
that. So I think it depends sort of the building, the program. Our paraprofessionals, I would say in general, many of them, we train them. So they may come with the high school diploma, they may come with a bachelor's degree. Many of them are in programs, and if you look at the vacancies on this list, I would say the majority of them are in special education programs. So when they come in, we really try to acclimate them to the classrooms. Many of them need safety care training right away, and sometimes we have to make sure we have the right fit in the right classroom. Our paraprofessionals, they work incredibly hard, and they are critical components of the classroom structure. And I think that's really important to recognize. So when we talk about what do we need someone who wants to work with children and who will feel rewarded by making a difference in a child's life. And I truly believe that that's the case. So I would say in terms of the onboarding, they come through a pretty standard onboarding process through HR, but we do try to acclimate them to the building. And I think we are putting more of an emphasis on that this year. It's, after the past few years has been different, I would say, but we are working hard, and the paraprofessionals are incredibly valued.
I can also say that the principals have gone out of their way to actually literally take them in, show them around the building even before they start, and just kind of give them a tour. This is where I fit, and speak to them and say that, I feel like, just based on what your experience is, and just in talking to you, I feel like you might be a good, fit for the preschool class as opposed to maybe a 1-2 split or, something like that, so.
And I appreciate your shout out about the principals.
Yep.
I guess I always think they're running the school. They never think that they're actually juggling massive staffing issues on a day-to-day basis.
Yep, they sure are.
That's awesome.
They do an amazing job.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Mulroney?
Thank you. Good evening. How you doing?
Hi.
Great work on this.
Thank you.
Just if someone, again, as Dr. Wells alluded to, we're on cable TV tonight, so if you want to do your own recruitment pitch right now, someone interested, contact you direct, go to the public school website, check the links, how would you go about sitting at home tonight saying, hey, they said paras are needed, they said this, how do I go about that?
The posting is on the Woburn Public Schools website. You can contact me directly, mboyajan@woburnps.com. My contact is on the website. School Spring, it's up on School Spring. We're on Indeed. We're here, call my number. Call the school, and it's extension 11230. We'll get you an interview.
Send a flare or anything.
Just make our own paraprofessional recruitment fair. Actually, I want to say, as a side note, we did have a mass onboarding of paraprofessionals who came in. I strategically did this because they were kind of coming in, and I said, you know what? I'm going to try this, rather than say, okay, why don't you come in on this time, then a half an hour later you come in, half an hour, 45 minutes later you come in. We sent them all in here together. I just went over all the paperwork together, all of the things that Woburn Public Schools offers. But the greater good here was that they actually got to meet each other. So there were about 6 or 7 of them who came in at the same time. A couple of them were at the same schools, and they were able to meet each other and talk about where they were going to be at, and just, the staff who might not, necessarily bump into each other all the time. So I think it was a nice opportunity there, too. So, we're getting creative.
I think, along those points as well, schools are starting to do their back-to-school nights and PTO meetings, maybe like a little hint or a link or a job fair, kind of a notch up at those PTO meetings. People might be thinking about getting involved.
Absolutely.
Even to a PTO member or someone interested in PTO. What does it require me to do? I'm available then.
Yep.
How much does it pay? And I'm still, with kids, perhaps your own children, but it's just another way to outreach to the community if you
Absolutely.
could.
Yep, that's a great idea.
So I
Like a
think
flyer.
you've done great. Again, we developed this position, I don't know how we did in the past, but look at this, we got pages and pages. And I think you started your presentation too about how creative the principals were, that, they also, teachers transferred out.
Yep.
They perhaps moved to a different building, parents were, whatever happened to Mr. Crowley? Well, he's still in the system, the district, but he just so happened to move to another school or another, level, or another, even, we see cases where people are no longer doing that subject material, but they're doing something else. So even, Mrs. Chisholm's point, the retainment of the people is
Well,
exemplary
absolutely.
as well.
They're staying. They're staying, and they're able to step out of their comfort zone and go into it, to step into a different role. But they're staying. You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
Good work, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Next up is the policy review.
Yeah, so I think there's a policy that was provided to us tonight. And then there was a couple policies that were previously brought to the committee back in December of 2021. So the one in front right now is the homeschooling policy.
Any discussion on this policy? Do I have a motion to pull it off the table?
I have a comment on policy, I guess.
Sure.
Or
Or do we want to take care of this and then do the general comment? Or is your comment reflective of?
I don't know that this one was put on the table in December.
The homeschooling one.
Was it?
No.
Could I,
Please.
could I? Okay. So this
Ms. Crowley.
homeschool policy came out of SSA, so because it was policy review, I decided that it should go on the table.
Okay, so this
As a
one is going,
revision.
oh, okay.
Yes, so I apologize for the confusion, Dr. Crowley, I just left it at your seat. So we have a homeschooling policy in Woburn, and we got some feedback that we wanted to widen the assessments when homeschool programs are assessed by the district. So we just revised only paragraph number 4 to add various other ways in which a homeschool program, a child can be assessed for progress. So so we're not voting it on tonight, I'm just putting it on the table.
So we have a motion
as
to,
that minor.
we have a motion to place, is there any discussion on the policy before we put it on the table?
I have just a comment.
Yeah.
So in the 5th section, it says the parent/guardian must certify in writing on a form provided by the district. As I understand it, it does not have to be on the form provided by the district. So I think we should strike that portion. just that on a form provided by the, they can give their own according to the care and protection of Charles, as I believe it to be. So if we could strike those words.
Which section?
1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th area down, the parent/guardian
Okay.
must certify in writing.
Before we strike it, though, we do have a form that we could provide, correct?
Yes, but they
Yes.
don't have to
They
do
don't have
it
to.
on ours. So they
Yes.
must certify these things, and they could use the one from the district.
I was going to say, why don't we keep it and add, or whatever else you're saying they can use? Doesn't that make more
I mean, it
sense?
could just be.
Did they just have to
parent-
certify it? Doesn't, we
Why
don't
don't
have to
we-
list out the ways that they need to certify.
See,
I
the
don't think.
parent and guardian must certify in writing, and that's about it.
Yeah, because they can use the form or not use
Yeah.
the
Right.
form,
Yeah.
so just.
Okay.
We don't
Yeah.
need to list the various
You
ways.
could do a form may be provided. if you
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
Well,
But
Now, so to let people know that there is a form that
so they don't have to
can
provide their own
Yeah.
if they don't.
Yeah, because it's just an extra step for them to recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
Right.
I've
Maybe.
written homeschool policies without the
They could
form.
use you.
well,
Yeah.
what do we want to do?
Okay,
So we'll
See how
put
it
it on the
goes.
table.
I'll make a motion that we put it on the table with the revision that we strike on a form provided by the district and add a form may be provided by the district for this
Yeah.
purpose
Right.
at the end.
Okay. All right.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, Ms. Cormier, I think you're the keeper of the policies.
So what are you asking me to do?
So I think we'll have to figure out which policies we're voting on tonight, and I think this,
or take it off the table.
off the
Okay.
taking off the table, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yep,
sorry.
I can do
Yeah.
that.
So there's a couple that I think we're going to send out for review, legal review.
The two that I think, and again, clearly this is not scripted, right?
Yeah.
So,
It is scripted, but it's a really poor script.
According to the notes from December 14th of 2021, we
Yeah.
had put IMG, service animals, on the table.
Okay.
We put equitable communication, translation, and interpretation on the table. And those were the only ones that were put.
Okay. Okay,
So
so,
those need to be taken off.
right. In discussion with the superintendent, he sent those to legal, and so I'm going to send those back to the SSA committee, because the legal had some comments on them, and we may want to look at them further. So the superintendent can work with SSA to revise those policies based on the legal.
So those will remain on the table.
They'll
and then
remain
we'll
on the
discuss
table.
them next.
Okay, does that
sure,
work?
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it had just been so long.
yeah.
Um,
But, so when our lawyer looked at them, she had some comments and was concerned about a couple of things, so she wants to clarify. So superintendent will work with SSA and then provide the members with copies after it's been revised.
Yeah.
And then we'll do the process again. And again, I want to thank Ms. Cormier for maintaining us on track with these policies. Thank you.
Thank
Okay. Move on. So we have an approval of school.
Yeah, so as we learned recently, the school committee approves nurses, and so we have a new nurse, Heather Carlson, who's going to be with your approval, at the Goodyear Elementary School, started to replace a nurse that's retiring. So I think the start date is early October. She's been in the district, working in multiple schools, and is excited to kind of have a permanent home. So,
Do we have a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve Heather Carlson at the Goodyear.
Second.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Here we go.
Yeah. Now we're ready to move on to subcommittee reports. Finance Subcommittee, Ms. Chisholm.
Yes, an error, I forgot to mention that we did meet on August 23rd in our last meeting. We met then at 10 o'clock. In attendance was the athletic director, Jim Duran, Patty McKinnon, Assistant Superintendent Bob Alcanada, Dr. Matt Crowley, and Assistant Superintendent Maureen Ryan, and school committee members Colleen Cormier, Chris Kissel, and myself. We had the Friends of Woburn Travel Basketball come before us, represented by Jared McDonough. requesting a change to the billing status for renting of the gyms. Travel basketball was dropped by recreation, so they wanted to have a friends group keep it going, so he was asking for a reduction in the cost. So we did go through that, and he worked with Mr. Alcanada. It's since been resolved, but it was going to end up costing the kids, instead of $150, it would go up to $750 per family if they had to pay the full rate. And this keeps about 150 of our kids busy on Saturday and sometimes during the week for basketball practice. Jimmy Duran did support this reduced fee for the program because it's a feeder program for all our high school basketball programs. So, and we had school committee members ask if families could get waivers for financial need, and this will be on, it's only run for Woburn students. It was also stated that coaches are all volunteer and they don't get paid. And our hope is that this continues at no additional cost to the school system. And we'll work closely on a year-to-year trial basis, and we'll review this as we go along. We talked about the hiring process that was underway, and we see how wonderful this is turning out to be. And it was sped paras, we had multiple openings. Positions to cover the supervision in and around the locker rooms were discussed. The job was from Monday to Friday, 2 to 5 p.m., and it was going to run for 10 weeks, and we had our principal talk about that tonight. And then Assistant Superintendent Bob Alcanada said that we will have a new vendor for an HR compliance tool that will assist on all the laws and regulations in HR, and the amount will be coming out of a license line item, and it's for $10,000, and that will give us about 20 hours of counseling. And that meeting adjourned at 11:15. And then we did meet again on 9/21 at 9 a.m. and attendance was Superintendent Dr. Crowley, Assistant Superintendent Bob Alcanada, Patty McKinnon. Oh, and I misspelled that. School committee members Chris Kissel, Colleen Cormier, and myself. Warrants and because we did not do any bills at this time at the last meeting. Warrants and the balance of accounts were received and reviewed by members. Questions were submitted and answers were given by the administration. Warrant 1 was for $1,742,808.01. Warrant 2 was for $375,138.34. Warrant 3 was for $407,856.22. Warrant 4 was for $237,771.27. Warrant 5 was for $673,820.85. Warrant 6 was $110,390.18.
We have a motion to approve the list of bills.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, and there was discussion at this meeting about just the long distance with Verizon, and Patty McKinnon and Jen Junkins is looking into that. And there was 2 positions that we share with SEAM, 2 inclusion coaches who work with our content specialists and coordinators. And administration worked with Rory to work with the 4 groups within our youth programs: Women Travel Basketball, Volleyball, Little League, and Lacrosse. And each group will have 1 point person to work with Meg to schedule the rental times. The rate is $55 an hour, and this will be on a trial basis to ensure that this does not cost the school department any additional cost. And we agree that this is beneficial for our students to participate in these sports, as well as they are the feeder program for high school sports. So we are hopeful this can be managed. The balance of accounts at the end of the fiscal year, we end up with a surplus of $158,533. I'm working with the mayor to add this to our sped account. However, with the increase we are seeing this year with additional new move-ins since the start of the school year, as well as increase in special ed, out-of-district placements, as well as maximizing some of our programs, money could be used in our day-to-day staffing. And we adjourned at 9:40.
Okay, a motion to approve the balance of accounts.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Any other questions for Ms. Chisholm?
Just that the,
Ms. Cormier.
one of the positions that we share is the director of, right? One was a content special, or
But we shared 2 positions, right?
yeah, Emily Pratt was one, she
Right.
was innovation, but then the other one was the director of diversity.
DEI.
Yes,
Yeah.
so India Barrows.
India
just-
Barrows, yeah.
So just she's a director.
Yeah.
And then we were discussed potentially having her come to the committee. Yes.
Ms. Chisholm, if your subcommittee could work with Mr. Alcanada, as we discussed on, as we discussed on Saturday, trying to figure out what's considered a line item for us going forward. We had, Mr. Alcanada wasn't here, I don't know if you filled him in.
I'll have to fill you in.
Yeah, there was discussion, it really is, the line item can be determined by the school committee. And so we should just figure out what we're going to consider a line item, so that when you guys move money around, we don't, nitpick, so to speak.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so, it's, because
Bob's motion, I think.
we've had discussions about that in the past, when different accounts go over and so forth, you should have some leeway. So you'll work with Ms. Chisholm, we come to an agreement what we consider a line item in Woburn, and then we'll go forward with that.
Sure.
Okay, great. Moving on, Communication Subcommittee, Mr. Lipset.
We have not met. Would this be a good time to just sort of update
Yep.
on the workshop that we had on Saturday?
Yep, that'll be great.
Given that a lot of what came out of that is going to wind up in Communication Subcommittee. But we did meet in this room on Saturday morning to hear a workshop from the Mass Association of School Committees. Dorothy Presser, who's the field rep for our area, came down and I think did a really great job of sort of walking us through school committee roles, responsibilities, norms. I speaking for myself as a relatively new school committee member, I think it was really enlightening. The past few years have not been business as usual, to say the least. So sort of getting that perspective on this job was really valuable for me. I don't want to speak for any of my colleagues, but my sense was that people found value in it. But yeah, so we brought up a number of different things that are going to wind up before Communication Subcommittee, looking at school committee protocols and norms around communications, around how we do this. And so we'll be sort of taking that up. My goal is to schedule a Communication Subcommittee meeting next week, if we can pull all that together.
Okay, good. Any questions for Communication? Okay. Moving along, Curriculum Data Trends Subcommittee, Mr. Mulrennan.
We have not met, and I don't see Ms. Young here, but I'll try to track down Ms. Young this week, try to set up a meeting for her needs and wants on the curriculum.
Okay, any questions for Curriculum and Data Trends Subcommittee? As the superintendent mentioned to me, MCAS scores are coming out, so it'll probably be, you can get a first look, Mr. Mulrennan.
Sure.
And, then we'll have a presentation, obviously, but, you can work out some of the things with Ms. Young.
I predict we did very well.
Pardon me?
I predict we did very well, overall.
Well, we did do
Yeah.
the MCAS.
Just spoiler
Yeah.
alert.
Uh-oh.
The scores will be released publicly
Yeah.
statewide tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I think at noon, they time it.
Yeah.
So that will be,
Curve reveal
Yeah.
and everything.
yeah, that,
But
okay.
so,
we're all aware of the current, what happened over the last 2 years, so I expect that will reflect it on the MCAS scores. And again, it's one measure, but, we have to look at it and then determine where our needs are for our students and how we're going to achieve them. So, okay. All right, Personnel Subcommittee.
We have not met.
Okay. Could you, on your subcommittee, I think Mr. Lipset asked about diversity in our workforce. Could you look at some numbers? Sure. Yeah. She talked about some of the diversity, but I think it'd be good for us to actually look at numbers and how, if
Any
there's been
particular
any...
metrics you're looking for?
Well, you can do over the last 3 years, has it changed in terms
As
of
far as-
hiring,
as far as-
staff, that's really what we're trying to, and I think if we look at the metrics, then we can see how we're doing. Okay. All right, any questions for that subcommittee? Resources and Capital Planning Subcommittee.
Yes, we did meet on September 21st, 9:45 at the Joyce Conference Room. Our president was David Dunkley, Bob Alcanada. Anyone's looking at my notes, it says Jum. So Jim Duran, Patty McKinnon, Dr. Matt Crowley, we fixed that, and Courtney Young and Colleen Cormier. Jim Duran actually spoke earlier regarding the lights and the rescinding the vote, which is a big section here, so I'll kind of jump ahead. Kissel brought up the old lights that are along, and it says proactive field. I don't know what the heck was happening with my computer. So the practice field, they're the lights that are behind the tree line. He was going to look into that because they're kind of old lights that we're not using. And just from a safety standpoint, we thought it might be good to look at it, see if it's something that just take them out, cap off the electricity, because I think it's good to have the lines there if we need them in the future. The feasibility study is underway, and David Dunkley said they would be looking at 2 schools a week, approximately. See the timeline? Did everyone get?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that timeline is still ongoing. 8 to 9 specialists, including electric, plumbing, et cetera, will be looking at the system structures, the grounds, et cetera. Lisa Tomajian, the Aramark rep for our district, will be present to review the kitchen needs as well. Approximately 2 hours each school. That's right. Best case scenario will be spring of 2023 for a draft and slightly later in the school year for a final report. So we'll keep up on it as time goes on. The annual water test was brought up as well. I don't know if it's annual, but the water test is being taken care of by David Dunkley on its required schedule. And he mentioned that most of the bubblers were shut off anyways throughout the district.
Yes.
Just for the sake of still kind of in the middle of it stuff. We adjourned at 10:31.
Okay. Any questions for Resource? Again, we'd like to send something to Resource. There's a movement to have a bench for Coach Sands at the high school, and
I'll talk about that for a quick second if I could.
sure.
So the Woburn High School Scholarship, Dollars for Scholars, actually got approval a while back. I was on that, so full disclosure. We put around the trees, which were part of the project to raise money, as well as the bricks, which are in the same pathway. We did 3 benches around each. We never went to the 4th side. This bench technically has been approved in a sense, because the benches were approved. The only reason I brought it up myself when Jim Durant called me that said the family was interested in having it is because it is the 4th side. There's no benches over there. I just want to make sure there was no plow issues, bobcats, anything like that, ADA issues of having the 4th bench. So I am not technically on the scholarship committee anymore, but I still get lots of calls, and I direct it to the right people. So I will look into it more and see what more from David Dunkley's side, if it's okay.
Yep, good.
Because we just don't want the family to think we don't want.
No, I know.
I appreciate their efforts.
It's not just going somewhere, it's going where all the other ones are.
All right, as long as we just do our due diligence.
Right.
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
And I'll bring up the Tanner Chew,
Yeah, I think you
depending
can-
where it is.
Yeah, I think you can talk to.
She had called me as well.
Mr. Alcanada and.
Thank you, Mr. Mulrennan, for directing me that way.
Resource utilization, it's right in front of me.
I actually mentioned it at Resources as well, and Dave Dunkley said they're going to include that in the feasibility study,
The snack.
Oh, the snack.
looking into
Excellent.
bathrooms in the snack shack for that
Okay.
area.
As soon as we have $500,000, we'll be glad to do it.
If you can find a plumbing person to approve
Yeah,
it.
2006.
Inspector.
So I don't know if I said it, but we
Okay.
adjourned at 10:31.
Okay, any questions for Resource and Capital? No? Okay. Student Services and Achievement Subcommittee.
We have not met, Mr. Chair. However, I
Okay.
just wanted, last night, CPAC, I want to publicly thank them. They put on a really nice event at the Homeschooling for parents, and it was enjoyable. I'm sure they'll be up to, they'll update us
Okay.
at our next meeting.
Yeah, then we're going to have them come at the next meeting and give.
And could I also mention something else? The Recreation Department is looking to hire an inclusion specialist in order to help with the programs and make the programs more accessible to all kids. So I just wanted to update the committee on that, because I know that's in line with the values of Woburn Public Schools.
So that brings up something I was going to discuss with the committee. As you all remember, I hope that we have a representative on the Recreation Committee, and I don't think we've heard from her from a little bit. Would the committee want her to come to the full committee, or should I send her to a subcommittee? I don't know. I'm just opening that up as a.
She sent an email before just to update us on it.
Have her come to the full committee. 'cause I'm sure
Okay,
she'll
all
work
right,
with
we'll
it.
work on that, then we'll
Twice a
have her
year,
come to the
please.
full committee.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, anything, questions for this, Ms. Crowley's subcommittee? No?
Just on that, Dr. Wells, if I may, I know probably in your notes as well, shout out to Ms. Ryan and her staff that are in attendance last night as well at the CPAC meeting. I think it was a great introduction for the CPAC folks. Again, we talked about it tonight.
Yeah.
Who goes where for what. Ms. Ryan's staff was very receptive to all the parents that were there and have further clarification on the upcoming school
Yep.
year.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Bowman.
Okay. And just, the SSA will be working with Ms. Ryan on all our new students that have come into the district needing services, because we're looking at that, we have a broad plan that we're trying to develop how to deal with, new students coming in.
We'll be
And
working on a new early childhood education center, too.
Yep.
In that vein, at that subcommittee, I noticed on the hiring, there was EL/ML, and then some that said just EL. Are we, that terminology still being used? I didn't know if that was blending into just be all ML. Just curious.
It really should be ML at this point.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if we still
Yeah.
had the EL portion.
No, I think we're in transition, so.
Okay.
Okay.
I saw that, too. Oh, that's not true.
Didn't say anything.
Okay.
She was being nice.
That's funny.
Okay, We'll move on to correspondence. Any correspondence? I had a few. I think I sent some to you earlier I think it was before the last. I sent them earlier this year. This meeting. Let me see. We did have one correspondence, and I'll send this one I did not send, but I got it from Ms. O'Leary regarding issues at the Kennedy School. It sounds like that's been worked out. I'll send that to you, Jean, and I'll follow up with her. Let's see.
Maybe CC Karen Nelson.
Yeah, okay, that'll be good. I should look at my sent ones. Sorry about that. Usually I write them down, but I just want to make sure. It was a correspondence from Merced Bortlick about the school links not on the Woburn government page, not working. I know I checked our website and that did work, but I didn't know exactly what was happening there. Covered correspondence from Ms. Locke about the charter school, that there's a charter school at the Mystic Valley Charter School, and they want to recruit Woburn students, and she would like to work with the committee and the superintendent to discuss the implications for that and how we should best respond. So,
What city is that in?
Malden.
Did they
Yeah.
come?
And superintendent might want to just comment a little, because I know we've talked about it.
Yeah, they've attempted this previously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're drafting a response, and we'll work with all stakeholders to make sure that people are aware of the intent and our response to it.
Okay, and then we got a couple of correspondence follow-up, our discussion on the special ed transportation, and I think I sent you some of those right after I got them, but they were basically asking questions about the special ed transportation, issues that we've talked about as a committee, so. Okay, so that
Does that
was.
seem to have been better? Are we still?
I'd say overall,
Okay.
it's still imperfect, but we're definitely.
And just
Everywhere, though.
just put that in public, because that's a
Yeah.
area.
It's not just Woburn.
Well, yeah, I think that
Yeah,
might have
so-
been what the person
Yeah, and
indicated was,
and-
why are we still dealing with it if there's an issue?
I'm going to actually ask Ms. Ryan to speak to it, because
Yeah.
she's been on phone calls with the Commissioner's office regarding this, so if you want.
Yeah, I can provide a quick update. I have had 2 meetings with the Commissioner Russell Johnson, as well as senior leadership with NRT, our primary transportation company. And I have also been on calls with the leadership at NRT and members of the SEAM Collaborative. I would say it is significantly improved at this time, and we are working together. We are talking regularly, and I would say the number of problems has gone down significantly at this point. We have some families, some routes that are with other companies right now, but I would say as a whole, the majority of our students are now getting to school and getting to school on time. There are still a few issues that come up, and we are trying very hard to respond to each and every parent that alerts us that there's a problem, and to very quickly address it with the transportation company. I do think the students were incredibly disrupted in the first probably 2 weeks of school, and we did everything we could, and we worked very hard, and both the Department of Education as well as the transportation companies were very responsive to collaborating with us. But I would say on the whole, we are in a much better place, and as problems come up, we are working very hard to address them promptly.
Okay. Any other question? So next, future agenda items. As we discussed on Saturday, we're going to try to work to make the agenda more reflective of the superintendent's goals. And so the superintendent and I will be meeting, and we want to highlight his goals and things that highlight that, but we also want to leave some room for other things, because I think, some of the things we've got, like we talked about Mr. Davis coming to talk about, the veterans groups and how they do, and other things. I know Mr. Mulrennan likes to have, I forget, what did you call it? The thing.
Silver linings.
Silver linings, yes, that's right. So I think,
Positive PR.
but, so we're going to have a mix of that, but I think we're going to definitely have a section that's going to have discussions reflective of the superintendent's goals. Okay, there's no executive session this evening, and I'll have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Ms. Ryan,
So,
did you happen to, obviously in the last 24 hours, check with Jen Judkins when she can get those